Good morning. Did you all enjoy your Thanksgiving? Good. I saw a lot of photos on Facebook of families and friends sharing time together, so I hope that whether or not you have family nearby, that you were able to spend time with people you're close to and express your gratitude to God and the people in your life. I know Mike talked about gratitude last week, but I just wanted to talk about it again. Actually, when Mike was giving his sermon last week, giving his message, something that he mentioned, it was a very brief part of his message, but it struck something in me. He was saying, it's an interesting thing about gratitude, because there are people who have everything that they could want in the world. There are people who have lots of money, lots of family, lots of things, possessions. And even the internal things, they have lots of family, they have, they have comfort. They can be blessed in a multitude of ways, but still complain. But on the other side, the interesting thing about gratitude is that you can have almost nothing, and you can have many things that you could justifiably complain about and still be grateful. And I felt that actually that kind of wiggled its way into my heart and kind of touched a little bit of I don't know if it's a raw part of my heart or, anyway, it resonated with me as something that I felt a little bit judged by, but also grateful to hear. Because maybe Annalise should give the sermon. Because I recognize that in my life I have so many things to be grateful for. If I actually take the time to think about it and to recognize how much God has given me in my life and the blessings that I have with my family and my health and my childhood and my future, I have so much to look forward to. And yet I find that even amidst all of that in my heart, I still have a complaint many times. It's not something that I'll say out loud. You probably won't hear me complaining. At most, it comes out as something like, oh, yeah, I'm tired, or yeah, we've been busy. But in my heart, there's something more there, where I'm not satisfied, or I'm frustrated. Basically, I'm not being grateful. And many of you participated in that grace ceremony that we held a few months ago. It was held on a worldwide level, and it was an opportunity to begin fresh, to leave behind mistakes and regrets and resentments, and to, define who is it that we really want to be. Start with a clean slate and work towards those goals. So maybe you remember, if you were here about a week or so after that, I gave the message and I said, well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm struggling. Because even having left behind, the past and mistakes and whatever, it's still daunting to look ahead at what I want to be, and to know that I'm not there yet, and to try to find ways to get there. But not having been there, it's like that saying, if you want to get something that you've never had before, you have to do something you've never done before. It's an unfamiliar territory to go into, and it's kind of scary and it's kind of uncomfortable. And so when you're making those steps and when you're trying to reach those goals, I think that many times we find ourselves faced with a wall. And we have to choose, do we want to go over that wall? Or do we want to retreat a little bit and stay comfortable and stay satisfied? So, in all honesty, I think I still feel that same uncomfortableness today. And in that state of uncomfortableness, even though I feel like it's a good place to be, I'm glad that I'm not retreating from what I want to be and from my goals, from the kind of relationships that I want to have with my husband, with my children, and in our community. It's still not comfortable. And in that uncomfortable space, I feel like some complaint has been creeping into my heart. But Father, we are so grateful for our Reverend Moon, true parent, who teaches us how to deal with these kind of feelings and these kind of emotions. So I'm missing my clicker. So I want to share a quote that True Father shares with us. You should not become persons of excuse or complaint, even though you are in a position to justifiably complain. God pushes you into positions where you want to complain and you could gripe about 1,000 things a day. But it is your greatness to go over the difficulty with gratitude and not complain like everyone else in the world. I feel like that just puts a wonderful perspective on the challenges that we go through in our life, and that it's our greatness to be able to face them and to go over them and to do it with gratitude. I ran across this little video on Facebook day before yesterday. It's really short, and I want to share it with you. But that it also really resonated with me. So this is...
A lobster is a soft, mushy animal that lives inside of a rigid shell. That rigid shell does not expand. Well, how can the lobster grow? Well, as the lobster grows, that shell becomes very confining. Right? And the lobster feels itself under pressure and uncomfortable. It goes under a rock formation to protect itself from predatory fish, casts off the shell, and produces a new one. Well, eventually, that shell becomes very uncomfortable as it grows, right? Back under the rocks. And the lobster repeats this numerous times. The stimulus for the lobster to be able to grow is that it feels uncomfortable. Right? Now, if lobsters had doctors, they would never grow. Because as soon as the lobster feels uncomfortable, goes to the doctor, gets a Valium, gets a Percocet, feels fine. Never gets off its shell. So I think that we have to realize that times of stress are also times that are signals for growth. And if we use adversity properly, we can grow through adversity.
So it's really simple. But I was like, yeah, that's really, I think, the best kind of perspective to have on our challenges. And that gives us a clue as to how we can be grateful for challenges. Because we don't want to be the same person that we are right now. It's not bad to be who we are. Of course, we know we are who God created us to be, but we are not where we are designed to be at yet. So if we want to get there, then we can look at challenges and we can look at our difficulties in times of discomfort as opportunities. And with that perspective, I feel like then we can find gratitude even in the midst of difficulties. So this is another quote. It is worth spending the rest of your life learning this one thing, to be grateful under all circumstances. You can be grateful because things are difficult. It kind of defies logic, and I think that most people, just looking at this quote, would be grateful because things are difficult. But it just kind of illustrates the point of the video. That when we come across our difficulties, then that's an opportunity to be grateful because we have the difficulties. Like it's kind of mind-blowing that you can be grateful because you're facing challenges, but that's just an opportunity to grow. And just as he mentioned, if the lobster could go to the doctor and just ease himself of the discomfort, maybe he would. but then he would never go to the next level. I think sometimes we too often want to escape the discomfort that we're in. It would be easier to avoid whatever it is that's making us uncomfortable. Maybe dealing with a certain relative at the Thanksgiving dinner table would be easier to avoid if we just didn't go. Or dealing with certain people at work. Or maybe we need to come to a point where we need to educate and discipline our children on a certain topic, but it's daunting and we just don't want to deal with it. We'd rather just let them be. But the consequences of that is that, our children don't grow, and we don't grow in our relationship with them. I was thinking about it, and I think that actually children grow a lot because they can't always change their circumstances. They're born into a certain family. They have to deal with relationships with their parents and their siblings. They go to school and they have to deal with their teachers and their classmates. And, if they get put into sports, then they have to follow the structure of the program. Or in music, you've got to practice in order to do your recital. I think that sometimes as adults, though, we can choose what circumstances we want to put ourselves in a little bit more often. And we're actually able to escape from a lot of the things that would make us uncomfortable. And we're able to avoid, unfortunately, a lot of the things that would help us to grow. So, how do we make the switch? How do we become a grateful and therefore more happy person, even in the midst of difficulties? I have this kind of theory of inside out and outside in. So I think a lot of times when we talk about wanting to change something, you have to change the core, and then the rest of it will reflect the core. So say, for example, let's just say, for example, if I am a totally God-centered and loving person to the depths of my core, then that will naturally express itself, right? So you could say that what we want to do is we want to change our core. We want to we want to transform the very fiber of our being down to our bone marrow of who we are and what we're living for. And then that will naturally be expressed in our relationships and in the words and in the things that we do. But it's not always easy to just be like, okay, that's who I want to be, so how am I going to change my core, I think that the inside out is true, but I also really believe in the concept of outside in. That in order to actually change the core of who we are, we have to start living that way in our words, in our actions, and the things that we say and the things that we do, even if we're not actually that person yet. I think there's actually a lot of studies about, there's kind of a movement, like a gratitude movement, where you say thank you to everything. You say thank you to the walls for being the walls. You say thank you to the carpet for being beautiful carpet. It kind of goes to the extreme, but that in expressing gratitude to everything and everybody, that you will become a grateful person and that you experience the benefits of being a grateful person. Also, just naturally, if you were to, express sincere gratitude to the people that you meet and the people that you serve, of course, they're going to be positively impacted and reflected back to you, right? So that will also affect your happiness. I remember when I was on STF, which was our church's mission program after high school for a couple of years, and we spent a lot of time fundraising. We go door to door and business to business, and we were asking people to buy stuff from us so that we could make money for our program, and it was quite a learning curve when we first got there. I'd never done it before, and I'm not didn't have any sales experience from high school, so how do I do this, and how do I make a good experience out of it? And something that my leader told me was just smile. Just smile at everybody. Even if they say no to you, just smile. And I didn't always want to do it at first, especially when somebody was like, no, what are you doing here? Get out of my shop. Then it's easy to be like, fine, be that way. Yeah, I'll leave and slam the door. But instead, to turn around and be like, okay, thank you, have a nice day, with a genuine smile. It was, when I started to practice that, it was just amazing how the negative circumstances around me didn't affect my attitude. It didn't affect how I felt. It didn't affect my perception as that humanity were good people, And coincidentally, the more I smiled at everybody, the more product I sold. And more importantly, the better I felt inside. So I really believe that the outside in and the inside out are kind of a symbiotic relationship. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, we already have this written down in the divine principle. I'm trying to come up with this complex theory of inside out and outside in. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what we know as vitality elements and living spirit elements, right? So I wanted to share this from the divine principle. The physical self provides a certain element, which we call the vitality element, to the spirit self. In our everyday experience, our mind rejoices when our physical self performs good deeds, but feels anxiety after evil conduct. This is because vitality elements, which can be good or evil according to the deeds of the physical self, are infused into our spirit self. I like that it says in our everyday experience. It's not always the big things that you do. It's not the, at Christmas time, sometimes we make our extra effort to donate to the Salvation Army people or to serve at a soup kitchen or something. And we kind of feel like those are the big good things that we do. But it's just our everyday experience when we perform good deeds and we follow what our heart and our spirit and what God is guiding us to do, then these good things are infused into our spirit self. So we can change the fiber and the fabric of our spirit self by the things that we do. So this can be things like expressing your gratitude to the people around you, through service or through giving back. Saying out loud the things you're thankful for has an impact on your soul, just like smiling can impact your attitude. And while our goal is, I think, to have the heart of gold, to really be, to our very core, God-centered, loving, giving people, if that seems daunting to you, I think it's empowering to know that we all have the tools to change that. It's called our lips and our hands. We can speak words of life, we can speak gratitude, and we can give back and do things with the physical body that we have. And that was just looking through the divine principle and learning about, again, the vitality elements and living spirit elements was just a really good reminder for me that, yes, I'm not a victim of my circumstances. Whatever my circumstances are, I may not be able to change them, but I have everything I need within myself. I have my spirit, I have my body, and I have God's guidance, which, life elements, that guidance to guide our mind and our body to do the things that we need to do, to be the person we need to be. We have everything that we need right here with us. So, So coming back to where I feel like I was at with being beyond blessed and yet having that little nagging complaint in my heart. When I look at it from the perspective of, we create gratitude, we do gratitude, and then we experience it in our hearts. I realize that that's really kind of, to be complaining about the simple things in my life is really kind of an arrogant attitude to have in front of God with all the blessings that I have. And it really encouraged me that I can just let go of that and I can just start to do the things that I want to do. I can start to express more love to my husband and to my children. I can express more love to the people in my community. And that will infuse itself into my spirit, and I will experience the happiness that I'm looking for. I don't need to change my circumstances to find my happiness. I can create it. So I just want to leave you with that with this week. And happy Thanksgiving again. I know that the Ilsham group has prepared a fantastic feast again for everybody. So I hope you're not tired of leftovers. And I'm going to leave it at that. All right. Thank you.